This video will contain spoilers of the Shaman King 2021 anime as well as the Shaman King manga. Your tribal chief has warned you. Like I mentioned in my previous 2001 vs 2021 videos, whatever I say about the 2021 anime will also apply to the manga. Now let's get this video started. This is one of those occasions where I can genuinely say that both 2001 and 2021 versions of Yoh's character were well adapted. They captured his calm and composed presence that he's known for and brought it on screen, as we see in the fights when he fought against Horo and Ren in the first round of the Shaman tournament. The first round fight against Ren summarizes Yoh's character in a nutshell. Always composed, never panicking when things get tough, with a light touch of banter as well, just to top it all off. There is one major criticism I have on both the 2001 and 2021 anime, and that is both incarnations of the show did not adapt chapters 3, 4 and 5 of the manga. I loved Yoh's character growing up. Watching the dub of the 2001 anime, he was unlike any shonen hero before him. I felt like he was the most human out of all the major shonen heroes because he didn't have a god-gifted talent and he wasn't a ready-made, overpowered character that was destroying enemies left, right and center. He was fighting off against people who had no supernatural shamanic abilities, such as Ryu in both episode 1 and 2. In episode 1, it was because of Amidamaru integrating with him, he was able to beat Ryu and his boys. Whereas in episode 2, without Amidamaru, he would have gotten killed by Ryu. This shows to us that he's not this overpowered chosen one with god-gifted strength. He's a normal dude without his powers. When he does fight off against Ren in episode 3 of the 2001 anime, he loses. He gets put into the hospital, which shows that he's not the chosen one. He has a long way to go. The first fighter he faces off who has the same shamanic abilities as him, and he loses. This makes Yoh more human and something that we can all relate to, because as humans, there's always someone better than us or more talented than us. And it shows here when Ren was training all his life, Yoh was slacking, and as a result, he lost the first fight because of his lack of training, which is something that all of us can relate to. How many times in an exam in school, college or even university, there's always that one person that gets the top grade because they study all the time to achieve it. This is what it was with Ren and Yoh, which is why the show felt more real despite having supernatural elements to it. But going back to my original point, the 2001 anime made me love Yoh's character because he was so relatable. But when I read chapters 3, 4 and 5 of the manga, it made me love Yoh's character even more. And if anything, these chapters really explain to you what Yoh is about as a person. In chapter 3, we see him use Amidamaru to help him through Kendo class, as well as various other spirits to help him through different subjects in school. He was a cheater. He used his powers as a shaman to cheat through school, and he had no shred of guilt whatsoever. Let's be honest guys, how many of us would do the same thing that Yoh is doing right here? I'm sure there's plenty of us in the comments that have attempted to cheat on an exam here and there. Manta was understandably disappointed, but Yoh never claimed to be a good guy. He even admits in the chapter that his main priority is to be Shaman King, which is why he could give two shits about his studies. This is then followed up with a chapter of Yoh helping out a bully named Tatsushi to reignite his passion for boxing by challenging Tatsushi to a boxing match using the bully's old boxing teacher Gushi Kenji as a way to snap him out of his bullying ways to move forward with his life after his teacher passed away. Doesn't this sound a little familiar guys? Yoh is helping out a person who is now on a mad streak of hurting people after having one of their loved ones pass away. Yes, I'm calling it. This is foreshadowing for when Yoh eventually chooses to help Hao instead of fighting him. In chapter 4, Manta mentions that Tatsushi has no family or friends, which is the same as when Yoh mentioned before his fight against Team Ren that Hao also doesn't have any friends, which was the reason why he decided to have coffee with him. Yoh suffered from loneliness all his life, which is why he's able to sense a lonely heart, which was the reason why he was helping out Tatsushi at the beginning of the story, as Yoh even quits boxing almost straight after that fight. And then in the next chapter, chapter 5, Yoh risks his life jumping in a burning building without integrating with Amidamaru to save the kids on the roof of the burning building. These 3 chapters highlight Yoh's personality and character. Chapter 3, we see he has a side that won't go along by the rules, and if he needs to, he will break them, as we see later on when he breaks the promise of the X-Laws of staying out of the Shaman tournament as a deal to bring Ren back to life. Chapter 4, we see the empathetic nature of his character, as we see him helping someone who is going through the same stuff he was going through when he was younger. People were calling him a freak when he was a kid, misunderstanding him, as Anna explained during the fight between Yoh and Faust. Similar here, where even Manta was being weird and staying away from Tatsushi, which resulted in Tatsushi not having any friends and being misunderstood into having a reputation as a bully. But Yoh changed that. Yoh gave him a second wind in life by having that boxing match with him, because he empathized with him. And finally, in chapter 5, we see the heroic, selfless side of Yoh's character, where he is ready to risk it all to save people, because it's the right thing to do. As we see later on, he risks himself against the golem to talk some sense into Red Sub Serum, and even challenging the X-Laws by himself. But the 2001 and 2021 anime skip these chapters, and it's a shame because these 3 chapters set the baseline of Yoh's character. You fully understand what he's about through these 3 chapters. And they're fun, light-hearted chapters as well, so I don't see the need of skipping them. But I was pissed when the 2021 anime skipped these chapters. I thought finally we get to see Yoh have that boxing match fully animated and on screen, but it wasn't to be. Every one of Yoh's actions can be traced back to these 3 chapters. These chapters foreshadow how Yoh is going to act in future scenarios, which is why I found it surprising that even the 2021 anime skipped these 3 chapters. I said in my part 4 of the Shaman King 2001 anime review, where Yoh's journey is going from being the guy with no friends at the start of the series into having every shaman in the world following his lead and trusting him, as his leadership qualities grew into matching that of Hao's, to eventually being worthy of the man carrying all the hopes and dreams of every shaman and finally beating Hao. It's an awesome story arc, whereas in the manga and the 2021 anime, it's slightly different. Throughout the entire manga and the 2021 anime, we hear that Hao is the most kind-hearted man that was corrupted by demons, as we see in chapter 169 and episode 31 of the 2021 anime from Matamune. Yoh is considered to be the other half of Hao. Hao reincarnated back into the Asakura family, but his soul got split into 2 as both Yoh and Hao became twin brothers from birth. Yoh is also a kind soul, as we see throughout the series, from him helping Togagero at the beginning of the series, him quitting the shaman tournament to ensure that Ren gets his life back, as well as the Osorizan flashback taking on the King of Demons in order to save Anna from her inner demons, and countless more times where Yoh shows kindness and empathy. In chapter 120, Mohammed Tabarsi, the beam guy in Hao's team, and Peyote were having a conversation on whether or not Hao cares or has any feelings, as Hao just laughed at Peyote's defeat, showing a lack of empathy to his own people. I feel like Yoh is the version of Hao that was kind-hearted and had compassion for people before the demons and the evil thoughts of humans took over. The Hao we see now competing in the Shaman tournament in the present timeline is just a continuation of the version of Hao after the demons took over, as we see even his own teammates are questioning whether Hao cares even about them. Yoh being the kind-hearted version of Hao, seeing all the madness, corruption and killing happening around him with the Patch tribe, the X-Laws, and of course Hao, is to make sure that during this journey he doesn't lose that kind, compassionate side of his character to the corruption of the Shaman tournament. He has to be the one to lead by example, to show everyone that there is no point fighting if there's hatred in your heart. Which is why he comes up with the plan of letting Hao be the Shaman King, as he knows he can't beat him. Fighting Hao is a suicide mission, so he might as well try and talk some sense into him and try and release the hatred of humans from his heart in order for him to be the best Shaman King that he can be. So it's 2 different journeys between the 2 Yohs in the 2001 and 2021 anime versions. Another major difference between the 2 animes regarding Yoh's character, and it's probably mainly due to the fact that the 2001 anime decided to go in its own anime-only direction, deviating from the manga, is that Yoh in the 2001 version wanted to stop Hao from taking the Great Spirit and more or less becoming the Shaman King, whereas in the 2021 anime he wanted to help Hao to be the best Shaman King he can be. He knew he didn't have the power to stop Hao, as we saw him admit that fact in episode 39 of the 2021 anime. This was the biggest difference. But for me, it felt like towards the latter half of the 2001 anime, all the way up to the end in episode 64, it feels like Yoh was being elevated into becoming a hero. He was suddenly getting the special treatment along with the prophesized destiny, such as in episodes 33 and 34 where Yome explains to Anna that it's up to an Asakura to defeat Hao. This is Yoh's destiny as an Asakura, to beat the shame of their family, which is Hao. which makes sense considering that Yoh is the protagonist of the series and Hao is the antagonist. But Shaman King is known for subverting classic shonen anime tropes, such as the love interest of the main character. The main character would always have one or two main love interests throughout the entire story. In Shaman King, however, Yoh is already engaged to Anna, which destroys that trope immediately from the start of the series. Or even the lone wolf trope, where usually the lone wolf character is the strong silent type. But in Shaman King, the lone wolf was actually Horo, a comedic relief character for the most part. Or even the main character's dream of becoming Shaman King. Yoh quits that dream in order to help Hao. And you know, in most shonen anime, the main group of characters always have that dream goal that motivates them throughout the entire story. Well, in Shaman King, our main protagonist quits his dream. So just with these few examples, you can see how Take doesn't want his story to be a typical shonen series. The 2001 anime in episode 42 showcased Yoh's new oversoul, the Spirit of Sword, which is also a double medium. But the thing is, the double medium ability was only given to Yoh, whereas in the manga and the 2021 anime, the double medium ability was also given to Chocolov. We even see Lysog use both Zalel and Morphine as well, which also can be classed as a double medium. But having this ability just solely given to Yoh elevates him above the rest of the heroes and makes him the guy. He's basically getting the Brock Lesnar push with this. Not only does he have the prophesized destiny as an Asakura to beat Hao, he also has an exclusive ability that only he can do in the double medium Spirit of Sword. Episode 56 elevates Yoh even more, where we see him directly have a 1v1 against Hao. The Iron Maiden was the one pumping her Furyoku into the Babylon Gate before Hao burned her alive, but Hao didn't even have a 1v1 with her during the Babylon Gate arc. Instead, during all of the madness, him and Yoh have a 1v1, and Yoh actually does really good in this fight. He manages to make the Spirit of Fire deflect his sword attacks. But then when it's revealed that the Iron Maiden wasn't dead and the Babylon Gate sucked in everyone involved, Yoh and Hao were the only ones conscious in the Babylon Gate, whilst everyone else was a walking zombie. Mind you, the Iron Maiden was also sucked into the Babylon Gate, so even she wasn't conscious in that scene. Which gets you thinking that maybe Yoh is even more powerful than her if he is able to withstand being in the Babylon Gate along with Hao. It's episodes 62 and 63 of the 2001 anime where you really feel that Yoh becomes the Superman of this series. All hope is lost. Anna, as well as the main group of Horo, Lysog, Ren, Ryu, Chocolov and Faust were all ganging up on Hao, but couldn't do anything against him. Hao was just laughing at them. He wasn't taking them seriously at all. But then it took Manta to remind them how Yoh fights into calming them down, which resulted in them beating Hao's Shikigamis. Amidamaru then reawakened Yoh and the fight took a turn in the hero's favor solely because Yoh is here now. Hao lost his cool because he sees that Yoh is back and alive again. The whole fight changed. You actually believe that they can beat Hao now, as we see Hao is missing his target when he was shooting fire with the Spirit of Fire. After Hao captures the Great Spirit and fuses him with the Spirit of Fire, Yoh was the only one going 1v1 with Hao and the Golden Spirit of Fire. The rest of his friends for some unexplained reason didn't help Yoh out, but I guess this was a build up to the Spirit Bomb moment for Yoh. But again, it makes Yoh feel like a hero that we all depend on. It was Yoh himself spearheading the chase to stop Hao from getting the Great Spirit. He was in front of everyone, including all of his friends regarding this chase. Add all of this together, the 2001 series by the end turned Yoh into a hero, which he is not. Yoh is a carefree guy. He wants a life of ease. He will always look for the easier option, which is why in the manga and the 2021 anime, he decides to let Hao be the Shaman King because that's the easier option instead of fighting him, which would mean a guaranteed death. Yoh was never a hero. He's a good guy that will help his friends out, even going to the lengths of quitting the shaman tournament in order to ensure a friend is saved. He's a good guy, but he also makes mistakes and sometimes he can be a bit of a prick to other people, such as in chapter 126 and episode 22 of the 2021 anime, where Yoh boldly claims that he can beat the Icemen in one shot, whilst the Icemen are also in the same bar where Yoh is at. Or even when he goes back on his word against the X-Laws to never compete in the Shaman tournament, he broke his vow to them after they helped him. So Yoh himself is not always a perfect angel, which can be tied back to chapter 3 where we see Yoh cheat to pass his classes, taking the easy way out instead of studying hard. From way back then, you can see that Yoh has a devious side to him, which makes him relatable to us, as we have also made mistakes in our lives. The 2001 anime making Yoh be the hero to defeat Hao made him less human and relatable to us, and instead made him more of a superhero, with a destined prophecy and a hidden talent that only he can achieve, as I said previously with the double medium, where only he was granted this ability instead of Chocolov and a few others, comparing to the manga and the 2021 anime. It made his character less interesting to follow towards the end of the 2001 anime, which is why I think a lot of people preferred Hao over Yoh in the 2001 anime. He just loses that cool factor he had from the beginning of the series into becoming a typical shonen hero towards the end of it. However, in the manga in chapter 298, we see Yoh in Hao's commune admitting that he doesn't like humans, which is probably due to him being casted out by the kids he used to go to school with when he was a kid, or because he was a shaman. But he still tries to reason with Hao, saying what's the point of a perfect paradise if there is no future? There's still a clash of ideals here. It's like the scene from Infinity War with Thanos and Doctor Strange when they were talking about how Thanos' home world got destroyed. They have a disagreement in that scene which is very similar to this scene here. This scene here is just before the final fight between Yoh and friends against Hao. Whereas if you compare it to episode 61, which is the meeting of Yoh and Hao before the final fight against Hao, Yoh doesn't even talk. He gets angry by what Hao is saying and sparks him for a fight. Whereas in chapter 298, you can clearly see that Hao was the one getting angry by Yoh's words and his refusal to disappear. Yoh never gets angry. That's his main philosophy as a character, to never lose yourself to anger and hate. But he then falls for Hao's antics when Hao was attacking Callum and Silver. This is the same thing that happened against Faust when Faust was hurting Manta, with Yoh losing his composure, which ended up him being defeated in that fight. The exact same thing happened in this episode, and Yoh ended up losing his soul to Hao by the end of this episode. This is not Yoh. I feel the 2001 anime by the end forgets how Yoh is as a person and how his character is. They don't stay true to his character towards the end, instead making him kind of like the chosen one. Now there are still some similarities, such as all the versions of Yoh not lacking the fact that the X-Laws and Hao and his crew kill innocent people. That they got spot on with his character. Yoh ends up traveling the world with Anna by the end of the series, showing us his love for life and that everyone should have a second chance in life, such as him giving Tokugero a chance where he could have easily turned ugly. But the reason why Yoh knew that Tokugero wouldn't do anything to him is that he is aware that both him and Amidamaru come from the same harsh time period in Japan. With that information given to him, as well as his innate ability to sense people's lonely heart, as we see in chapter 4 with Tatsushi and chapter 263 where he senses the sadness in Hao's power, the 2021 anime also has the advantage of adapting those souls on flashback, where again we see Yoh connecting to another lonely soul living in solitude, which was Anna. We see him learn how to use his shamanic abilities with the guidance from Matamune. Episode 32 of the 2021 anime had that great symbolic scene of Yoh and Anna being separated with a door, with Anna being in the dark room whereas Yoh was in the room full of light, showcasing to us that Yoh is the light for Anna that will get rid of the darkness and demons within her if she lets Yoh help her. It's almost unfair to compare because the 2021 anime adapts more material, but that's the price of diverting from the manga. Yoh changed the lives of Anna, Tatsushi, Manta, Amidamaru, Tokugero, Ren, and Hao. I could name a bunch more, but these 7 characters mainly. And what do these characters all have in common? They were all outcasts. They were known to be the freaks. Anna was the demon girl, Manta was the nerd that no one wanted to be friends with, Amidamaru was known as the demon that assassinated the Emperor's army, Tokugero was known as a bandit, Ren was trapped in his dad's ideology, and Hao was a demon. All of these characters have that same thing in common with Yoh, in being alone and having no one else to help you through the tough times. And this is why Yoh is one of my favorites of all time. His own experience of not having any friends and being the outcast help him get every one of these characters get out of that shadow and be part of a group that they can be friends with. That's why Yoh in episode 21 of the 2021 anime and chapter 122 of the manga, he says that he is happy for Lyserg, that he found a place where people can understand him. And with Hao right at the end, he literally ended up getting everyone to show up, including Hao's mom, to show support to Hao in that he can be the best Shaman King. These two characters who were antagonists for Yoh, with Lysak being part of the X-Laws and Hao being the main antagonist, Yoh could have easily lost himself and given into the anger, but that's Yoh. Yoh is the kind-hearted version of Hao that we see help so many characters throughout the entire story, even the main antagonist of the series. The essence of Yoh's character for the most part was still adapted well from both animes, but you know what I said in the beginning of the video, that the reason why I loved Yoh's character was because he's the most relatable shonen hero. Well, in the 2021 anime and the manga, he has to train like a beast to get to where he is. He had to train in hell to achieve his armored oversoul, and even despite all of this training, he still isn't the strongest by the end of the series. We finally have a main character where by the end of the series, he is not the strongest character, which makes his character feel more grounded compared to his heroic 2001 counterpart. Ultimately, if you want the best version of Yoh, you have to read the manga to fully understand how badass his character is. I feel both the 2001 and 2021 anime don't do Yoh's character much justice, but out of both of them, I would have to go for the 2021 anime, solely because I feel the 2001 anime forgot how Yoh is as a character by the end of the series. But that's just me personally. But enough from me, let me switch over to you guys. What do you think? Which version of Yoh do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.